right, let's open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov, Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharal, we come before you once again, Yahweh, in your Shabbat, in full thanks, Yahweh, and full hollow, Yahweh, of your day. We thankful, Yahweh, for the week that you provided us, the blessings that you and the travel mercies that you provided us, Yahweh, and also your protection, your hedge of protection about our sick, Yahweh, as they go through their trials in seeking of their own health, Yahweh. We're thankful for all the mercy that you've given us throughout the week. And as we close this week into Shabbat, Yahweh, we enjoy this peace and this rest in your name and in your honor. And we humbly come before you and ask that you allow your angel that sits at the door and knock to come in and sup with us and us with him, Yah, so your name could be here on these grounds, giving us that Kodesh Mikra that you commanded us, Yahweh, that holy convocation on your Shabbat. Yahweh, we ask that your spirit of understanding reside with us, Yahweh, as we rightly divide your scriptures, Yahweh, and seek of those hidden things that are hidden from the world that you give in plain sight to your children, Yahweh. We ask that you open our eyes and our ears and our understanding, Yahweh, so that we can take those spirit in us, Yahweh, and utilize that not only on the Shabbat in our everyday walk as well, as we be a light for those in dark. Yah, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen. Amen. All right, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yadon Yasharah, my brother Yonatan Yasharah. Shabbat Shalom. And the title of today's Shabbat study is Practicing Perfect. Practicing Perfect. And one of the commandments that we were given is to be perfect. And when we hear that sense, we know we failed that already, because in man's eyes, we are not perfect. And once we make any kind of mistake, we kill the human perspective of perfection. And because we know that that is a reality with us as human beings, that we're going to make mistakes, we'll tend to also use that as a crutch, saying that, well, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Well, we want to get into this Hebrew perspective of being perfect and what he's asking us as far as being perfect, and understanding that perfection is not the same word as the Hebrew word for perfection. There's a little bit of a different meaning. It's more of being spotless. So if you have a brand new car that you purchase, and you getting ready to buy it and it's brand new off of the storeroom, and it's got a little smudge on it or something, not a scratch, but a smudge, nothing that's permanent, but something that needs to be repented from or restored. It's imperfect in that sense. But once you clean it off, it's back perfect. So that's the mind frame that we have to understand, that when he was talking about be you perfect, is to keep ourselves spotless. But then also, how can we also avoid getting more spots on it? It's not, what's the point if you're gonna, clean a place and then step right back in the dirt? Then you are purposely putting a spot on that. So we have to understand that this word was made perfect. We flawed it, but it's so perfect that it allows us to find our way back accord with the Most High through repentance and restoration. So we're going to first open up in Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 18. And Shabbat Shalom, Totayah Hall. Good to see you. Shabbat Shalom, brother Yafi Yehuda. Good to see you as well. Shabbat Shalom, sis Gishi Cole. And Shabbat Shalom, sis Stephanie Hicks. Good to see you, family. And Brandon Pierce. Peace and shalom, Aki. Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you, family. And we're opening up in Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 18. And we're going to start that at verse 13, and we're going to read through 22.
Devarim, chapter 18, verse 13. You shall be perfect with Yahweh, your Elohim.
All right, so let's look at that. So what's that Hebrew word for perfect there? Just so we see what he's asking us here.
H8549.
All right, so H8549. The word for perfect is tamim. Tamim. H8549. Tamim, spelled T-A-M. IYM, and that's from H8552, entire, whether literally, figuratively, or morally. So the be you entire. So that's also, giving all your heart, all your mind, all your strength, all your soul. So giving everything that you have towards following his commandments is tamim. And then also, and it says literally, figuratively, or morally. So it's not just in spirit, but it's also in your deeds and in your the way you keep your temple, all of that. Integrity, truth without blemish. So if you keep yourself in integrity and in truth, this will keep you without blemish. Complete, full, perfect, sincerely, sound, sincerity, without spot, undefiled, upright, and whole. So this is perfect. Now, once you are flawed, you are not in a perfect state. But if he says, be you perfect, you shall be perfect with Yahweh, that means we have to keep ourselves in that state. If we find ourselves in a manner, some things we can't control, things happen to us that might put a spot on us, then we have to constantly seek to be in the state of tamim. And Shabbat Shalom, Johan and Lawrence. Good to see you. Go ahead.
Verse 14. For these nations which you shall possess, hearken unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for you, Yahweh your Elohim has not suffered you so to do.
So these other nations went after these other spirits, these other entities, and diviners of times, and observers and diviners and all type of witchcraft type things, when we are supposed to be tamim, we're supposed to be entire. We're supposed to have integrity and truth with the Father. We're supposed to go to that source, period. There's not supposed to be 99% of the time we go to Yah, but when we don't like what he hear, then we go find that necromancer or somebody else to give us something. That's not perfect. Go ahead.
Verse 15. Yahweh your Elohim will raise up unto you a prophet from the midst of you. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're right.
From the midst of you, of your brethren, like unto me, unto him shall you hearken. According to all that you desired of Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire anymore, that I die not. And Yahweh said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto you. and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die.
All right, so in the name of other gods. Now, we know there is no other Most High. There is no other Elohim. There's only one source of every piece of energy that came on in creation. But other mighty ones, whether you're going to speak in the name of the president to tell people they need to do this or they need to do that against the commandments of Yahweh. Anytime you are speaking on behalf of anybody against the words or saying or crediting the authorship of righteousness to somebody else saying this is a problem. You are not to hearken unto that prophet. Go ahead.
Excuse me, brother.
Go ahead, Elder.
Just wanted to ask you all to check your audio because Brother Jonathan's voice going out and then it's silenced and then your voice comes in. So I don't know if the wire's weak or somebody's hitting something, but your audio keeps going out.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and switch phones. Thank you, Elder.
All right.
All right, and Shabbat Shalom, Melvin Shelley. Good to see you, family.
Verse 21. And if you say in your heart, how shall we know the word which Yahweh has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of Yahweh, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which Yahweh has not spoken. But the prophet has spoken it presumptuously, you shall not be afraid of him.
All right, so anybody that claims they are a prophet of the Most High, if they speak something that has a specific endpoint or a prophecy supposed to be fulfilled in a specific time and it does not happen, that is not the prophet of Yahweh, period. That prophet spoke that thing presumptuously. He spoke it on his own mind, on his own accord. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to Genesis chapter 6, Bereshit chapter 6. So he's saying, be you perfect. And then the examples that he gave of not being perfect was to not be like those people in the land that were before us that did not hearken to the counsel of Yahweh. They listened to whoever and whatever was going to tell them what they wanted to hear. So we know that perfection, helping us reach perfection, comes through these commandments. But what are the commandments? The commandments are anything that proceeds out of Yah's mouth, any instruction that he gives us. So there were commandments that were created from the beginning. The fact that he said, let there be light, that's a commandment. He commanded it and it happened. And he commanded that light and dark be separated. He commanded that happened. So these are all commandments. So now you're going to see here with Noah, you're going to see how Noah is being found perfect with the Most High.
Genesis Bereshit chapter 6 and verse 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose.
All right, so you have the daughters, a man began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. There's a difference between the general man and then the sons of Elohim. When it talks about sons of Elohim, those are the people that are born of the spirit of Yahweh. That could be angels, or that could also be man. This is what makes up Elohim, all those spirits. So when it's talking about sons of Elohim here, we know that from a physical sense, an angel does not marry or given in marriage. So we know an angel is not physically coming here and with a phallic organ knowing the daughters of men. That's not what that means. There's going to be a physical sense. You're going to have men that are on the earth that do not walk with the spirit of Yah, having children with daughters. And you have that, and because of that bloodline, you are now allowing the spirits of these evil angels to enter into them. And this is causing a problem when we're not supposed to allow any other spirit into us other than the spirit of righteousness. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of Elohim came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown.
All right, so when the sons of Elohim came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children unto them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Now look at that word for giant, because when we see giant, we think that perspective of that Greek perspective of, the Jack and the Beanstalk or something like that. That's not what that meant. And then when you read further into the Hebrew, into the message, is showing you. It's showing you the mighty men. So what was that? What was it? Enoch?
H5303.
Or Nephil. Right. Nephil, a Nephilim. And that's from properly a feller. That is a bully or tyrant. Nephil, spelled Nphiyl. Nephil, properly a feller that is a bully or a tyrant, giant. So this isn't necessarily talking about the stature. Now, obviously, they had like the Anakims, and they had different nations that were taller than others. And I believe the further you move from the equator, the taller you tend to be. The closer you are to the equator, the shorter you tend to be, or it may be vice versa. But either way, this is talking about bullies or tyrants. And now you tie that in with mighty men. You can be a mighty man in this world. If you bully people, you take advantage of righteous people, you can be a bully or a tyrant or a giant in the earth for a time period.
Verse 5. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented Yahweh that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Yahweh said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repents me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with Elohim.
All right, so in this generation, Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with Elohim. So with Noah walking with Elohim, that means he allowed for Yahweh to direct his steps. When you walk with Elohim, you don't walk in front of Elohim. You let Elohim send his angels before you to guide you in the way. So in his generations, he was found a perfect and just man. Now, does that mean Noah didn't make any mistakes? No, Noah was a human being. We know he's possibly made some mistakes. But when you find yourselves spotted, just like when you are dirty from doing work outside, you don't want to stay in that dirty state. You don't want to walk around smelling and stinking with mud and grime all over you, or motor oil on your hands. You clean yourself off. That's the state that you want to be in. That's the state that you're trying to be in. But you don't. Now, if you know that you're going to get back dirty again, then you don't go wash your hands. You don't go change the oil knowing you got to go in there now and go change the filter and drain the oil out the filter. You don't wash your hands unless it's obsessively dirty and you can't do what you need to do because you're getting ready to get dirty again. But when you know that that's not your state, you did what you needed to do, or you accidentally got something on you or whatever, then you clean yourself off. That is perfection. So if you don't, spiritually, it's the same thing. If you know you have no intentions of trying to be perfect or trying to be one with the Most High, then you're not going to clean yourself off. When you find yourself in transgression, you're going to use the excuse, nobody's perfect. Everybody's dirty. Ain't nobody a saint. So I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. Then you're not working to be Tamim at that point. You're justifying your wickedness and you're staying in it.
Genesis 6, chapter 10. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence.
All right, so a little history lesson there. The world was repopulated by Noah and his 3 sons. So these 4 males repopulated the earth. Noah, from what I see, didn't have any more children after that. But the whole earth was populated from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And we come from the line of Shem. So anybody who claims that they're an Israelite or claims that they're the real Jews, if your bloodline is not descended at least somewhere from the seed of Shem, it's impossible for you to be a bloodline Israelite. So when somebody calls themselves an Ashkenazi Jew, that's letting you know they're not an Israelite. They are Jewish because they're coming from the seed of Japheth. And you can verify that in Genesis chapter 10 with the Table of Nations. The same thing with a Sephardic Jew. A Sephardic Jew or Sephardim, they come from the line of Shem. So at least they are from that Shemite, they're Semitic, but they don't come from the same branch as Abraham. So if you're not from Abraham, you cannot be an Israelite because it's Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. So if you of Abraham's brother line, then you are not of the seed of Abraham. You're not an Israelite. So that kills all that Sephardic Jew. So these people are telling you, I'm ancient. I know that I am of an ancient bloodline and I can call it out. But then they're sticking our culture in there and claiming our culture. And they can do that if the people that are of that bloodline are locked up, killed, or dispersed. Then you can go in the land and you can say whatever you want to say. But you can't talk to somebody that understands their bloodline and tell me you this or you that. We had that situation just this weekend when we were in Florida. A Jewish lady walked up to us and started, trying to solicit from us. And, we took care of her. We gave her a little bit of money or whatever. And she was telling me, she was Jewish. And we told her we're Israelites. And she kind of, she knew a little bit about who we were. And she started to deal with this in a certain type of manner. So when people don't know who they are, they can talk to you any kind of way. But when you know your history, it changes the game with folks. Because now they I gotta watch what I say because this guy knows who he is.
Verse 11.
Go ahead, Elder.
Also, what we need to know is that even if you cannot go back in history to see what line that you are, spirit on you. But the Father is talking about also being spiritual Israelite. Because you're going to follow him, that's what he wants. He wants your truth in your heart. He wants you to follow him in obedience. So he did open the door to Gordon. So when people just want to quote that, I'm from the line of Dawid, so forth. Excuse me, can you prove that?
How you know that?
Can you really prove that in your bloodline? Or are you more concerned about your bloodline, or are you more concerned about obeying the Most High and doing His mighty will?
Right.
And that's what the problem is today. Everybody wants to be or something, but you don't know how to act accordingly. Let's deal with the spirit instead of trying to deal with just with the letter. Deal with also the spirit of the law. Do what Yahweh says do.
Absolutely, absolutely, because all the brothers that were bloodline Israel over the age of 20 all died in the wilderness except for 2 people. So obviously Yahweh is not like this is going to be your VIP pass to get into the kingdom. This just determines what your job and your role is as a witness and a servant to the Most High. And if you believe to the best of your knowledge you come from that bloodline, then you need to act accordingly. But regardless of whether you're from that bloodline or not, righteousness is the only entryway into the kingdom, period. It don't matter what you are, whether you a Gentile, whether you of the direct bloodline of the Mashiach. It makes no difference. King David, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to walk in righteousness. So once you get to the point, I think that I'm Israel, or I believe that I'm Israel, or I believe that I'm a Gentile, but I know that I serve Yahweh Elohim, then your whole focus from that point is not trying to prove your bloodline, it's to prove your spirituality. Prove that you are Yasharah, upright with Elohim, by learning to practice perfection, knowing you're never going to reach perfection in this lifetime. And we're going to get into the proof of that as well. Go ahead. And Shabbat Shalom to the kings in IGA. Brother Isaiah and Sister Tanya. Good to see y'all, family.
Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 6 and verse 11. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And Elohim said to Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make you an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shall you make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch.
All right, so somehow man believes that Yahweh was in his adolescence at this point, that he was still growing. And he was just real mad, and then he grew up and matured, and now he's like, nah, you can do wickedness. It's all right. You know, I ain't gonna kill everybody. Nah, he was pissed off because, like the parable tells us, did not plant good seed here? How all these tares got here? What you gonna do if you come and you plant a beautiful rose garden and you come back, it's number thorns and thistles? What, you gonna leave it there and say, all right, well, it's thorn and thistle garden now? You're gonna destroy it and plant another garden. So this is how he felt when he said this is repentant is kind of a bad word. What was the Hebrew word for that? Because people like to use that as like a contradiction.
H5162.
All right, so it's naham, to sigh. That is breathe strongly, by implication to be sorry, to pity, console or rule, avenge, comfort, ease, repent. So, and he was sorry a way things turned out. It wasn't that he changed and went back from what he did. If Yah says this is what the creation is, that's what it is. But if somebody else came and messed up his creation, he got a right to fix that. Because he said, be you perfect. This is imperfect. Well, let me make it perfect. And sometimes to make something perfect, you got to destroy it. Sometimes when you break an arm or you break a bone and it starts to heal bad and it's not right, I can't just leave that there. I have to break the bone again and set it right so it can be properly. That's the only way you can make things perfect sometimes. Go ahead.
Verse 11. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt.
14.
Oh, okay, let me jump down. Make you an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shall you make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which you shall make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, and the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits.
All right, so you don't see Noah here. Well, why does it have to be 50 cubits or 300? You know what? That doesn't make any sense. Let's do it this way, because I want it to look like this. Nah, listen, this is how he was perfect with Yahweh. Yahweh gave him commandments. He kept the commandment. He did what he did. And the work took long before he saw the reasoning for what he was making his ark for. Go ahead.
A window shall you make to the ark, and in a cubit shall you finish it above, and the door of the ark shall you set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shall you make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven. And everything that is in the earth shall die. But with you will I establish my covenant, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of everything of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall you bring into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto you to keep them alive. And take you unto you of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to you, and it shall be for food for you and for them. Thus did Noah according to all that Elohim commanded him, so did he.
All right, so people will like to use, the scoffers. Well, what did the animals eat on the you only took 2 of this, you only took 7 of this, because there's more instruction. You want to bring more of the clean animals than you do the unclean animals. And they like to find all these little holes, but the answer's right there. And take unto you all the food that is eaten, and you shall gather to you, and it shall be for you and for them. So he's giving instructions of what need to do. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Devarim chapter 32.
I just want to reiterate what you just said, that if they read chapter 7, it will tell you, of every clean beast thou shalt take unto thee 7.
Right.
Male and female. You know, because they keep saying, you know, people don't realize, they don't read far enough to see what Yahweh's planned on, what he had done. He made a provision for his children to eat clean before him, so you don't defile yourself. It didn't mean that the other animals that he made wasn't good, but it was good for feeding for us, you know. So I wanted to just bring that point out while we were in the area, in the chapters.
Right, right. Exactly. If you go chapter 7 and verse 2, that's when it starts to talk about taking them by the sevens. So, well, people will always try to find some contradiction so they can have an excuse not to keep some commandments. But at the end of the day, if you read things in its entirety, you'll find out. Another good example of that is when somebody say, well, you know, just stay in your tents. The Shabbat say just stay in your tents. Yeah, that was when the man was out there getting himself killed. But then later a temple was made. That's when we were in camps. Later a congregation and a temple and a holy temple was built, and then we were commanded to come assemble there. So you got to read things in its entirety and do things in its time. Somebody can tell you to block a punch. But if your timing is off, you're going to get punched in the face. You're not going to get punched in the face and then put your hand up and think you're going to block. You blocked, but you didn't block when the punch was coming. So it's all about timing and doing things in a proper form and fashion. So Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 32. And Shabbat Shalom, Kim Marie. Good to see you, sis.
Is it this chapter that says I kill and make alive? I do all these things? No, that's Isaiah.
I don't think it was this.
Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 1. Give ear, O you heavens, and I will speak. And hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. Because I will publish the name of Yahweh, ascribe you greatness unto our Elohim.
So I will publish the character of Yahweh. I will let people know. When you publishing something, you're going to proclaim. You're going to let the world know not only just the physical name of Yahweh, but the character. And how do you do that? It's not just in your mouth and in your words. You just say, oh, Yahweh's great. He's good. Mm-hmm. Also your actions. Because you're practicing perfection. They're like, I don't believe there's a father. Well, look at me. Look at my actions. Look at the righteousness I walk with. That ain't me. I didn't make this up. This came from the Father. So this is how we're publishing things. How we're proclaiming it to the world is in our mouth, in our actions, and our deeds. And Shabbat Shalom, Abia Yasharala. Good to see you, sis.
Verse 3. Because I will publish the great name of Yahweh, ascribe you greatness unto our Elohim. He is our rock. He is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment.
All right. His work is perfect. His deeds. Look at that word for work. What's that Strong's for work?
Work. 6467. Age 6467.
All right. And that's Poal. Poal, spelled P-O-A-L. From age 6466, an act or worked. Act, deed, do getting, maker, work. So his acts, his deeds, his work is perfect. So he's showing us his works. And he's telling us this is the perfection. Because like you said, that goes with the point. I make good and I make evil. Mm-hmm. So we can't do everything that he does because certain things for us to do it is evil for us to do it. But it's not evil for him because all his ways are perfect. He's only going to do that in righteousness. He's going to make it night when it's supposed to be nighttime, not when it's supposed to be daytime unless he has a reason for that. So his works that he tells us to do is his perfection. We have to follow that.
Go ahead.
Verse 4. He is the rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment, and all of truth and without iniquity, just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves, their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus requite Yahweh, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he the Father that bought you? Has he not made you and established you?
All right, so they have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not like their children. They are a perverse and crooked generation, because when the children are spotted, the parents clean them up. The parents cover them. And when you see that, they added a little bit more words to that statement. But basically, his children, when they are spotted, they have been given the formula to repent. They've been taught to restore and to make things back make things back in perfection. But this generation that has sprung up is not like his children. They're going to continue doing it. They don't care. They're content with being spotted.
Verse 6. Do you requite Yahweh, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he the Father that bought you? Has he not made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Yasharal. For Yahweh's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eye.
So he found us in a desert land, in a land that is without the flowing waters. A very dry land. It wasn't as much spirit, and found us and brought us and instructed us how to live where we would always, out of our own stomachs would flow the living waters, out of our own belly, and kept us as the apple of his eye. The apple of the eye is the part that receives the light. We're supposed to be the light bearers. We're supposed to be receiving it and reflecting it. That same part of the eye you can look at when the sun is out, and you can see your own reflection in somebody's eyes. And this is the apple of Yahweh's eye. That's the most important. If that place is dark and does not work, you can't receive or take light.
Verse 11. As an eagle stirs up her nest, flutters over her young, spreads abroad her wings, takes them, bears them on her wings. So Yahweh alone did lead him, and there was no strange awe with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock.
So verse 12, so Yahweh alone did lead him, and there was no strange el with him. That goes back to what we read in Genesis chapter 6 about how the daughters of men were mixing with the sons of Elohim. And they were dealing with these different spirits, these evil spirits that were going into the men of the earth, that were allowing these strange elves to be with them. And they were creating these shady characters and this messed up bloodline that was being giants in the earth, that were being Nephal, that were being bullies and tyrants. Go ahead.
Verse 13. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the field, and made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And you did drink the pure blood of the grape. But Yeshurun waxed fat and kicked. You are waxen fat, you are grown thick, you are covered with fatness. And he forsook Elohah, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to Elohah, to mighty ones whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat you, you are unmindful, and have forgotten all that formed you. And when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not El. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
Verse 21 is interesting. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not all. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. Let's look at that. A people. Let's see what people is.
With those who are
Should
not
be
a
Ami,
people.
I believe.
I believe it was going.
5971.
5971. All right. So when you see a people, the Hebrew word for people was Ami. Ami, which is AM. And that's a people as a congregated unit, specifically a tribe, as those of Israel, hence collectively troops or tenants, figuratively a flock, folk, men, nation, people. So this is talking about a family. And when they talk about a nation, they use the term goyim when they're talking about nations of people. But this is talking about a family. So I'm going to move them to jealousy, but a people who are not a family. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. A foolish nation. So that's very interesting because it's using family and using nation. And nation should be what? Goyim? What was that?
1471.
Yeah, I believe that's Goyim. Goy, yeah. In the sense, a foreign nation. So I'm going to provoke, I will move them to jealousy with people who are not family. And I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. A nation void of understanding. Go ahead.
Verse 22.
Thank you, brother.
Go ahead, Elder.
Two things. One, I wanted to go back to 15 when we talk about Yeshurun. That was a name, an upright one for Yeshurun, for Israel. So since we was on that, I wanted to bring that point up. Also, can we can also confer to 2 Kings chapter 30, verse 15, when Yahweh took up people out the land because they wouldn't do what he asked to do, and then put the Sabarim in there, and let's say, one of the first steps to make the children of Yasharal jealous because Elohim kicked them out of the land because he wouldn't do right and put a nation that was not his people in place to occupy the land and do a few things as the priest would do, but yet those people still didn't keep the correct teachings of Yahweh, and worship their own God, but yet still they defiled the land. But I guess the lesser two evils, Yahweh allowed them to defile the land, but also keep certain many holy days that he told them to do, and also to have his people realize that I had you there first. But now look at the people I allowed there to be there when you should have been there. So know your place, learn your place, get back with me. I'm kind of, they say, prefacing different things, but I know you get the gist of that. And then verse 17, he's talking about guys that came newly up. I mean, we know the one he's talking about was there, dealing with the New Testament, So I know you probably have a few things to say on that. Other than that, I guess we'll continue on.
Right. Now, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. And Shabbat Shalom, Mindy Byers. Good to see you.
Verse 22. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn into the lowest pit, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the mountains of the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them.
I will heap ra'ah, which is evil, upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them. Go ahead.
They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, and the poison of serpents of the dust.
And that goes along with what the elder was mentioning in 2 Kings, where the people of the land, they were able to recognize, wait a minute, we get ate up by animals. The lions in this area are supposed to be generally tame and compared to like, you know, the safari in Africa or whatever. They're a little easier to tame, like the Ethiopian lions, where they used to ride lions and do all different types of things. But they get ate up by all these lions. They getting killed. So they realized that the Elohim of this land was killing them off. But us, we can't figure it out. We can't figure out why we getting bit with arrows and beasts and snakes and all different things.
Verse 24 and verse 25. The sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hairs. I said I will scatter them into corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and Yahweh has not done all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them, and Yahweh had shut them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter.
All right. So let's stop right there. Let's move on. So his work, his way is perfect. And Noah followed the instructions of the Most High and was found perfect. And this is what Yahweh is instructing us. You shall be perfect with Yahweh. In other words, we are going to keep ourselves in constant following of the instructions of the Most High, whatever those instructions are that he gave us. And that one unique instruction set that he gave all of us is these commandments. But we also have different paths and gifts and choices in our lives that we have to look for the instructions of the Most High to lead us so that we could stay in tamim with the Most High.
And babe, you were asking if this was the one that he says, I will kill and I will destroy. It is in verse 39.
Verse 39. Even I am he. There is no all with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So that all goes with him. That goes with Yah. Yah is one who's in control over everything. And all his ways are righteousness. So that's why when things happen in our lives, we can't be always quick to blame the Most High that he's doing wrong. All his ways are perfect. Even if he didn't physically do it, it does not happen without him allowing this to happen. Tehillim, Psalms 119. What was the one in Isaiah you were?
I'm trying to figure it out. I think it's in 11. It's there. It's both of them. One says,
yeah, it's saying almost the same thing. But basically, I remember what you're talking about.
Would you be able to search that one too now?
Isaiah 11.
I don't know if it's Isaiah 11. I kill, alive, destroy.
Or what was that? Verse 29 that we just read?
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 32.
39.
39?
Yes.
I form light and create evil. It's Isaiah 45:7. I form light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Deuteronomy 32 says, I am he. There's no all with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. There's none that can deliver out of my hand.
Right.
Hallelujah.
Tehillim, Psalms chapter 119. The sword without and the terror within. That's something to definitely consider why many of us are suffering from this anxiety, this constant anxiety that we have, that even when we are, there's no sword without that's trying to kill us at that exact moment. We might not be able to physically see it, but there is a spiritual sword out there that's trying to kill us. And whereas the adversary is trying to use that for evil, Yah is allowing that to be used for good, to prove you and to try you and purge you of the impurities in us. And we're going to read 1 through 48. What was the other one? It was Isaiah 45
Isaiah 45.
and 5, I believe. And Shabbat Shalom, Ariel Smith. Good to see you.
Isaiah 45, 7.
Isaiah 45 and verse 7.
I form light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. It's Yah show.
It just shows he's in control of everything. And all his ways are perfect. And that's why we have to learn to be content in whatever situation that we're in. Because it's not happening by accident. Yah has mercy on whom he will and won't.
Blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the law of Yahweh. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with the whole heart. They also do no iniquity. They walk in his ways. You have commanded us to keep your precepts diligently. Oh, that my ways were directed to keep your statutes. Then shall I not be ashamed when I have respect unto all your commandments.
All right, so when verse 1 was said, blessed are the undefiled, if you look at that word, it's the same one, tamim. Perfect. Blessed are the perfect in the way. And in way is direct, H1870. Blessed are the perfect, the tamim, in their road, in their course of life, mode of action, along, because of, in their conversation or behavior, their custom, their journey, their manager, their towardness. So blessed are those. They use the word undefiled, so it's letting you know that's a synonym for being perfect, a tamim, being undefiled. And how? It's giving you the answer. Who walk in the law of Yahweh. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with the whole heart. That goes back to that definition of tamim, entire. Go ahead.
Verse 4. You have commanded us to keep your precepts diligently. Oh, that my ways were directed to keep your statutes. Then shall I not be ashamed when I have respect unto all your commandments. I will praise you with a brightness of heart when I shall have learned your righteous judgments. I will keep your statutes. Oh, forsake me not utterly. Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereto according to your word. With my whole heart have I sought you. Oh, let me not wander from your commandments.
All right, so wandering from the commandments, getting off, is not using your whole heart towards Yahweh. So he keeps using this whole entirety aspect.
Verse
11.
Your word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against you. Blessed are you, O Yahweh. Teach me your statutes. With my lips have I declared all the judgments of your mouth. I have rejoiced in the way of your testimonies as much as in all riches. I will meditate in your precepts and have respect unto your ways.
And meditating and thinking on these precepts is also a way of study. You don't have to constantly be in a book study. Whatever you have already taken in, if you meditate on that and you ponder your ways and compare it to what you have studied, then you can always refer back to make sure that you're keeping things in the proper order.
Verse 16, I will delight myself in your statutes. I will not forget your word.
When you delight yourself in the statutes, you change your mind frame of making law as it's some kind of restrictive area. It's something that's holding you back in some kind of way. Nah, delight yourself in. You know that all his ways are perfect.
Deal bountifully with your servant, that I may live and keep your word. Open you mine eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of your law. I am a stranger in the earth. Hide not your commandments from me. My soul breaks for the longing that it has unto your judgments at all times. You have rebuked the proud that are cursed, which do error from your commandments. Remove from me reproach and contempt, for I have kept your testimonies. Princes also did sit and speak against me, but your servant did meditate in your statutes. Your testimonies also are my delight and my counselors. My soul cleaves unto the dust. Quicken you me according to your word. I have declared my ways, and you have heard me. Teach me your statutes. Make me to understand the way of your precepts, so I shall talk of your wondrous works. My soul melts for heaviness. Strengthen you me according to your word. Remove from me the way of lying, and grant me your law graciously. I have chosen the way of truth. Your judgments have I laid before me. I have stuck unto your testimonies, O Yahweh. Put me not to shame. I will run the way of your commandments, when you shall enlarge my heart. Teach me, O Yahweh, the way of your statutes, and I shall keep it unto the end. Give me understanding, and I shall keep your law. Yea, I shall observe it with my whole heart. Make me to go in the path of your commandments, for therein do I delight. Incline my heart unto your testimonies, and not to covetousness. Turn away my eyes from beholding vanity, and quicken you me in your way. Establish your word unto your servant, who is devoted to your fear. Turn away my reproach, which I fear, for your judgments are good. Behold, I have longed after your precepts. Quicken me in your righteousness. Let your mercies come unto me, O Yahweh, even your salvation according to your word. So shall I have wherewith to answer him that reproaches me, for I trust in your word. And take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for I have hoped in your judgments. So shall I keep your law continually forever and ever. And I will walk at liberty, for I seek your precepts. I will speak of your testimonies also before kings, and will not be ashamed. And I will delight myself in your commandments, which I have loved. My hands also will I lift up unto your commandments, which I have loved, and I will meditate in your statutes.
All right, so we see a lot of the same theme here about meditating on his statutes, his judgments, his testimonies, keeping the heart in entirety towards Yahweh, understanding these precepts better, understanding the judgments of Yah, so that you can give your heart wholly unto him, because your heart can't be wholly given to him unless you clearly understand how to do righteousness. So he's asking the Father not to take truth out of his mouth and not to take away his understanding, but increase his capability to use his heart more effectively. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 22. And now we're going to look at, part of this perfection is your offering, when you're offering unto the Most High. Because if you are a servant and you have been given increase by him, which is every servant has, you're going to have to offer back to him. So in this offering, it has to be in perfection. So in him instituting this whole offering system of animal sacrifices and burnt offerings, so forth and so on, he wanted to get us to understand that concept of without spot. So we're going to Wayakra, Leviticus chapter 22, and we're going to read verses 17 through 33.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto Aaron and to his sons and to all the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, Whatsoever he be of the house of Yasharal, or of the strangers in Yasharal, that will offer his oblation for all his vows and for all his freewill offerings, which they will offer unto Yahweh for a burnt offering.
All right, so it's talking about speak unto all those that make these vows, that I will vow that I will offer this, or free will offerings, whether they be of Yasharal or the strangers in Yasharal. So there's even laws pertaining to the strangers. They have to follow these same system of ways that we do things. And it uses the word oblation. So let's look at that word oblation and see what that means. And it's going to make some more sense because we've heard that Hebrew term used in the New Testament. So the word for oblation is korban. Korban. Spelled Qorban. And what was the verse? He said, it will say it is Korban by me, like the Pharisees, like it's a gift. It's a gift
to the temple.
That you have me, that I'm your child. That's boasting yourself. That's not honoring your father and your mother. So the word Corban, Qorban, is H7133, Corban. And that's something brought near the altar. That is a sacrificial present that is offered or offering. So the oblation is brought to the temple, brought to the altar of Yahweh. There's a difference. Go ahead. And then it also said, what was the other one? It said, who bring oblation for all vows and his free will offering. Now, a free will offering is Nedaba, which is H5071. Nedaba, spelled Nedabah. And that's from H5068. Properly spontaneity or spontaneous abundant gift, free offering, freely, plentiful, voluntarily, willingly. So when you make a vow, you're saying, I'm going to offer this to Yahweh. Yahweh has blessed me with this new wife, his new house, everything. I'm going to offer my first increase unto him, or I'm going to offer this thing beyond what I already had to offer him, which was already by commandment. I'm going to give a free will offering. I'm going to give him that. That's a vow. And then you have, that's the vow. When you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that to Yahweh. You pay your vows to Yahweh. Then you have the free will offering where you just say, praise Yah. Here, drinks on me. Or here's the ox or something like that. That's the free will offering.
Verse.
And we didn't also go over that for a burnt offering. So the burnt offering is H5930, which is Olah. And that's when a step collectively stares as ascending, usually a holocaust as going up in smoke, ascent, burnt offering, go up to. So these are the offerings that the priest did that would go up the steps, and he would burn that for a sweet smelling savor unto Yahweh. So we should be at verse 19.
You shall offer at your own will a male without blemish of the beeves of the sheep or of the goats.
All right. So again, a male without blemish. So let's see what this is. Blemish is mum, spelled M-U-M, H3971. As if passive participle from an unused root, probably meaning to stain, a blemish, blot, or spot. So when it's talking about being tamim, that is without blemish, without spot. So he was trying to get us to understand, in offering these sacrifices, there shouldn't be some ill-favoredness in this that we offer unto Yah. It's perfection, because Yah made us perfect and we spotted ourselves. We caused the blemish in us. We weren't born with this blemish. I'm talking about a spiritual blemish. This was brought onto us because we chose to do an error. So he wants us to give back to him perfect the same way he gave us perfection.
Verse 20. But whatsoever has a blemish, that shall you not offer, for it shall not be acceptable for you. And whosoever offers a sacrifice of peace offerings unto Yahweh to accomplish his vow, or a free will offering in beeves or sheep, it shall be perfect to be accepted. There shall be no blemish therein.
So what's this peace offerings? What's the word for that?
Peace offerings 8002.
All right, and that's Shalem, H8002. And that's from H7999, properly requital. That is voluntary sacrifice and thanks. Peace offering. So that's very simple, very similar to the other offering, the free will offering, Nedaba. It's very similar to that.
Verse 22. Blind or broken or maimed or having a wen or scurvy or scabbed, you shall not offer these unto Yahweh, nor make an offering by fire of them upon the altar unto Yahweh. Either a bullock or a lamb that has anything superfluous or lacking in his parts, that may you offer for a freewill offering, but for a vow it shall not be accepted. You shall not offer unto Yahweh that which is bruised or crushed or broken or cut, neither shall you make any offering thereof in your land. Neither from a stranger's hand shall you offer the bread of your Elohim for any of these, because their corruption is in them, and blemishes be in them. They shall not be accepted for you.
So with the other nations not knowing how to present themselves as a living offering, it won't be accepted. So he had to teach the nation of Yasharah first how to learn perfection and have us practice that perfection so that we can in turn teach the rest of the world, these strangers and these other nations and these other people, teach them how to be accepted of the Most High. But if they never received the instructions from the Most High, they got to receive it from somebody. But if we're not receiving the instructions that came directly to us, how are we going to give them instructions?
Verse 26.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, when a bullock or a sheep or a goat is brought forth, then it shall be 7 days under the dam. And from the 8th day and thenceforth it shall be accepted for an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. Whether it be a cow or ewe, you shall not kill it and her young both in 1 day. And when you will offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving unto Yahweh, offer it at your own will. On the same day it shall be eaten. You shall leave none of it until the morrow. I am Yahweh.
All right. So when you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving, you shall not leave it, none of it, until the morrow. I am Yahweh. So that's also very similar to like Passover, where, you know, we're supposed to eat that thing up. We're supposed to eat it. We're not even waiting till tomorrow. Before the sun comes up, we're supposed to have it done.
Is that end of 20? Is that end of 32?
No, we didn't read that.
Neither shall you profane. Verse 32?
31.
Therefore shall you keep my commandments and do them. I am Yahweh. Neither shall you profane my holy name, but I will be hallowed among the children of Yasharal. I am Yahweh, which hallow you, that brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh. And
we profane his holy character when we are associated with his character by being the apple of his eyes. When we are the nation that he chose to be taught perfection, and we choose not to be imperfection. And choosing not to be perfection is not saying I'm choosing to never ever make a mistake in my life. Now, if you do make that mistake, you're going to cleanse that situation. You're going to clean. You're going to remove that spot that's in you and do your best not to get spotted again. But when we don't do that, we profaning his name because we're saying that his creation is not perfect. And we're saying that he is not worthy to be followed, that his ways are not all perfect, that our way is a more perfect way. And that's profaning Yahweh. That's taking his holiness and making it like it's nothing. All right, so go ahead, Elder.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that verse, in Leviticus, it says, I will be hallowed among the children of Yasharal. You know, I am Yahweh, challenge you. And it makes reference to Leviticus chapter 10, verse 3, when Moshe and Aaron, you know, this is it that Yahweh spoke, saying, I will be sanctified in them that come near me, and before all the people I will be glorified. And Aaron held his peace. Now, we also know this is how Moshe got in trouble with Yahweh when he failed to sanctify Yahweh at the bars of Leobal, when he should have spoke to the rock to usher out water for the maybe 600 million Israelites that was there. But he got frustrated with the people and went into his own emotions and didn't keep Yahweh sanctified by when he hit the rock twice. And Yahweh gave the people the blessing of water to nourish them up to a lake, like big as a lake. But Moshe had a penalty on him, and he spoke to him later on when he failed to give thanks and sanctify Yahweh. He he had to go up on that mountain and die, you know, at 120 years old and pass his mantle on to Yahshua.
Right.
You know, so Yahweh, you know, let you know, as he said, he make alive, he heals, he wounds, and he kills, you know, because he will be sanctified. He is not a respected person. You're not his boy. If you make that mistake before the Most High, you're going to be dealt with. And the higher you go, the less chance you have for these mistakes, because you have done what you just stated earlier, which you have meditated on all your actions, you know, as you walk with the Most High. So you are correcting yourself by the word of the Most High to become upright before Him and the people that you're representing, you know, before Him. So, you know, just I wanted to bring that point up, so it makes a very good comparison or strengthens at verse 32.
Absolutely. And you figure, well, you know, he struck the rock. How did that not hollow Yahweh? Well, you tie that with what we just read in Devarim chapter 32, where it says his work is perfect. So his ways, his manner of work, the way he does things is perfect. So if he says do this and you do it a different way, you're implying that his way wasn't perfect, that there was a more perfect way of doing things, or that you're sovereign. You're the one in control. Either way, that's not hallowing. That's not blessing. That's not sanctifying Yahweh in front of the children of Israel, because you are implying that there is a better way of doing something, that there's a more perfect way of doing something, or Yahweh does not have to be followed in his in tamim, in perfection, in wholeness. So that's absolutely right. Let's move on. Let's go to Job chapter 1, or Yob chapter 1. Job. That's right after Psalms.
Right before Psalms.
Oh, excuse me, right before Psalms.
Job chapter 1 and verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared Elohim and eschewed evil.
All right, so this man was in the land of Uz, and his name was Job, and he was perfect, that should be tamim, and upright, yashar. So that what was that word for perfect? It should be tamim again.
85:35, but here it's the one we read earlier is 85:49. So
right,
so
which one is this one?
85:35.
All right,
it's probably Tom.
Yeah, it's the root word. 85:34.
85:35.
35. Tom, right. Complete. Usually pious, specifically gentle, dear, coupled together, perfect, plain, undefiled, and upright. And then we look at that word upright is one that we are very familiar with, yashar. And if you look at that Hebrew, it's the yad, the shin, and the ra, which is the base and the root word of yasharal. And then you have other people that will take shara and use that as the root word. But either way, all of those meanings are tying in and giving you that same word, yasharal. So when you have yasharal, it's literally yasher and all, upright with all. And what keeps you upright with the Most High?
His commandments.
His commandments. Whatever he commands us to do, that keeps us upright. What does a father instruct his child to do? You instruct your child how to be upright, how to do what they need to do. You telling them. You're not just going to have your child, you know, a good father not just have his child just running around doing whatever he want to do. He doesn't have any experience.
Hold on. Verse 2. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-donkeys, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East.
So he was one of the greatest of all the men of the East, And when you go into the Apocrypha and you read the end of Job, what is it? What is it? Chapter what? Was it 29, I believe it was, or something like that? Or 40, 43, 42. The end of chapter 42, it continues. Was it a 43 or was it the end of 42?
Yeah, the end of 42.
Right, it was the end of 42. When you read what was originally there in the 1611 King James, it's going to show you what line Job comes from. He is not an Israelite. He is of Esau. He's of a whole different bloodline. But yet, this man was perfect and upright. Not his bloodline didn't make him perfect or upright. It's because he feared Elohim and hated evil. So that goes right hand in hand with what the elder was mentioning earlier. Your bloodline ain't going to guarantee anything. There was plenty of bloodline people that were in the East, but they weren't considered as perfect and upright as Job was, because he feared Elohim. He reverenced the Most High. So whatever instruction he received or was able to access of the Most High, he followed those commands. And that's what made him spotless. Verse 4.
And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, It may be that my sons have sinned or cursed Elohim in their hearts. Thus did Job continually.
All right. So does this mean that because he was perfect and upright and one that feared Yah, that he never made a mistake in his entire life? Nah, we know that's not true. It was only one man that was able to do that, because this man held the spirit of Yahshua all the time. Yahshua, he was a specially crafted vessel. So this man has made mistakes, but he's showing you, here's proof of the type of character he is. Because he said, in case the people that he's covering or his children that came from his loins are spotted in some kind of way, he's trying to despot them. He's trying to cleanse them. So if he could take the time to do that with his sons that may have done something in their heart that he wouldn't even know. He don't know what's in man's heart. Nobody knows what's in man's heart. We don't even know what's in our own hearts. But he is making offerings for them. So what you think he's doing for himself if he finds himself in a spot? He's going to remove that spot for him. And that's why Yahweh considers him perfect and upright. Because when he's in a spotted fashion, he's removing it. Or if he thinks he has a spot in him, he doesn't even have to see a spot. There may be something there. Let me remove that. Let me reconcile with the Most High. Let me repent and restore. This is the mind frame that we have to be. Because if you are constantly working to remove spots, the spots that you can see, the process and the exercise of practicing that is not going to allow you to carry on and put more spots on yourself. Now, we like to look at things from an impossible mission. I got to remove every spot off of myself. Well, when you clean a house, you clean the whole house at once. You go in there, hey, I'm going to put 8 arms, I'm going to clean every room at once. You can't do that. You got to start with something. So that's what we have to do in our lives. We start with something. Same thing with training. Again, because the title is Practicing Perfect. Practicing perfection. When we are training on the mat, we practice the things that we are weaker on. It's an 80-20 rule. The things that we are weak on, we practice those things. And the things that we are good at, we don't have to practice them as much. So when we get on the mat and we want to work on an actual technique that we're doing, we don't practice every single technique. You got to pick one and work on that. So we have to approach our salvation in the same fashion. The things that are our complete weakness that's going to get us killed out there, start on those. Start practicing those, getting those perfected. And as you get that and that becomes part of your muscle and your spiritual memory, then you move on to the next section. And this is why Yahshua came and gave his life, because you will never have enough time to work out all of those spots that you have. You're going to need him to fill in certain things, because there's certain spots that there's certain, like when you take a bath with your Isha, you got to ask, can you reach that? I can't reach back there. There's certain spots you can't reach. And this is why you were given a helpmeet, to help you work on those things. And this is why you were given a family and an assembly and a brother, so he can help reach those spots, because we'll never reach all of those things before time comes. But what we're going to be judged on is, did you spend this time during this grace period practicing perfect? Did you spend that time? Because he can make you perfect with the snap of a finger. He puts you right back to how you started, in perfection. But are you practicing these things? Go ahead, Elder.
Yeah, just to add to that, he was actually a big covering for his children, he was trying to, like I said, keep a hedge around them in case they forgot to do something, because obviously he taught his children correctly, as being an upright man before the Father, but he said, that maybe they might have forgot something, and sinned. So let me, pray for them. So he acted as a covering, for his children. So he asked for mercy for his children, before the Most High, in case they might have made a mistake. And who knows, Yahweh will probably bring it back to their memory, because of he's so upright, that maybe he said, okay, now it's time you. The Father just made a prayer. Maybe I need to go and pray for them too, because you forgot about this. And because the action of an upright man, you know how much mercy. We don't know how much mercy Yahweh may have for the people that we're praying for, and that mercy will come back to us also, because we're trying to do the righteous thing toward our Father, for our siblings, for our children, for our family. So I just wanted to add that point in. It's how we act, our character, that is written about right here, on how this is this man's character right here. So, as you mentioned earlier, it's how we conduct ourselves, what we practice, we're supposed to make ourselves, how you say, God says you're holy because he's holy, and that is his direction and path for being holy. They're just trying to, how you say, eradicate the things that unplease the Father, that displease the Father in us, So I just wanted to bring that point up. It's a how you say, it's a lifetime thing.
Right.
You're not going to get everything right the first time. That's why he gives us a walk, and we don't know how long that walk is, but you're correct in saying he's supposed to meditate on those things.
Right.
Job chapter 1, verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Where comest you? Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
Like a vagabond. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that fears Elohim and eschews evil? Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, Does Job fear Elohim for naught? Has not you made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land.
All right, so notice where his hedge is. His hedge is about him and about his house and about all that he has on every side. So keep that in mind. That's where his hedge is. If his children were children, then they would be in his hedge. Go ahead.
Verse
11. His children were little kids. That's what I meant. That didn't make sense what I just said. If his children were little kids in his household, then they would be under his covering. But they are in their own houses. So you can pray for people and you can do different things for people and lead them. But at the end of the day, they're going to be responsible for their own actions. Go ahead.
Verse 11. But put forth your hand now and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only upon himself put not forth your hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of Yahweh. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, The oxen were plowing, and the donkeys feeding beside them. And the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The fire of Elohim is fallen from heaven, and has burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, Your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell you. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped.
So he shaved his head. So this is a mourning type process where you shaving your head and you wrapping your head completely. And this is why, we weren't supposed to have that kind of manner where we shaving our heads off like the other nations do. It's almost like a coming to the Most High in a depressed type state. That's not our culture. That's what Egyptians did. Egyptians shaved their heads and had little facial hair, or shaved whatever facial hair is, and put on those fake beards. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. Yahweh gave, and Yahweh has taken away. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged Elohim foolishly.
And this is a man that understands the way of Yahweh is perfect. All his works are perfect. Everything he's doing for a reason. He did not charge Elohim foolishly. And this is what we do when we come under attack. We blame Yah, and the same thing a child does when he gets punished. Oh, you just hate me. What did you stop and think why something is happening to you? What is this going through? Do you not know enough of your parent to say, I might not understand what's going on, but he's going to make sure I understand why I'm receiving what I'm receiving. And in this situation here, all these attacks coming back to back to back to back to back to back. That lets you know you under attack of Satan. And this happens in our lives when you look at me like, man, why all these things just keep happening? Back to back to back to back to back, back to back. But again, what was it that we read? I create good, I create evil. So Yahweh's in charge of all this. He's in control of all this. Yahweh might have not necessarily said, go here and kill all these people, because he didn't tell Satan that. He said, go kill his children and all that. The adversary will do what he do. But the servant of the Most High is going to grow from that. It's going to benefit him if he's patient and trusts the Most High and sticks closely to the commandments. Because when you find yourself in that situation and all these different things are happening to you, you don't know if it's happening to you because you're doing something wrong right now, or you did something wrong in the past, or if it's just a proving moment, a testing moment. But one thing you can guarantee is the answer to that is not straying away from Yah's commands, not doing his works or doing righteous deeds. That's never the answer. But this is what the adversary wants you to do. Forget doing the right thing and feel that all this stuff is happening to you, so you got a ransom for your sin. You got an excuse to not do righteousness. No, fear Elohim and eschew evil throughout all situations, when you're being blessed or when you're going through tribulation. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 28. Ezekiel chapter 28. We were made in Yah's image. Yah is perfect. So if we are made in a perfect image, that means we had the ability to be perfect. Yah don't look like us. He not a man with 2 legs and 2 arms, and he walk around with some locks in his hair. That's not Yah. That's the image. That when he decided to make himself an image on the earth, he chose to make himself look like us, the people he chose. But that's not who he is. That's just a piece of him. So when he's talking about an image, he's talking about the spirit. The spirit of perfection is in us. We choose not to follow that spirit.
Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 1. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus says my sovereign Yahweh, because your heart is lifted up, and you have said, I am an Al, I sit in the seat of Elohim, in the midst of the seas, yet you are a man and not Al, though you set your heart as the heart of Elohim. Behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from you. With your wisdom and with your understanding, you have gotten you riches and have gotten gold and silver into your treasures. By your great wisdom and by your traffic have you increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore, thus says my sovereign Yahweh, because you have set your heart as the heart of Elohim, behold, therefore, I will bring strangers upon you, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom, and they shall defile your brightness. They shall bring you down to the pit, and you shall die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Will you yet say before him that slays you, I am Elohim? But you shall be a man and no Al, in the hand of him that slays you. You shall die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, says my sovereign Yahweh.
All right, so he's addressing the prince of Tyre, or Tyrus or whatever, which is like somewhere they call Palestine or whatever, in that area. And he's talking to that physical king, but he's also dealing with the spirit that king is inhabiting. When you go into Daniel, I believe it's chapter 10, when it talks about, I've heard you from the first day that you prayed, but I was fighting with the prince of Persia. And then next is the prince of Grecia I got to deal with. These are princes, these are angels that are over these nations. This ties back to Enoch. In Enoch, it tells you that all these nations, to sanctify the nation of Yasharal, were given angels and spirits to lead them. So this particular king is allowing the spirit of the adversary, the devil, to lead him. So he's getting punished for that. Just like the serpent was punished along with the adversary, the devil. Because the serpent allowed the spirit of the adversary, the devil, to use his vessel to do wickedness. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus says my sovereign Yahweh, you seal up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You have been in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering, the sardis, the topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of your tabrets and of your pipes was prepared in you in the day that you were created.
So this is obviously not talking about the king of Tyre anymore, because we know he didn't walk in the garden of Eden, because there's a flaming sword round about that's stopping man from entering into the garden of Eden. Now, he might have walked in Eden, that area, but he didn't walk in the protected place of the garden. So he's talking about the adversary, the devil, right here. And then some of the workmanship of your tabrets and the pipes was prepared in you, because his vocal cords of the adversary, the devil, is literally tabrets. Go ahead.
You are the anointed cherub that covers.
We know that king of Tyre is not a cherub. He's not an angel. Go ahead.
That covers, and I have set you so. You are upon the holy mountain of Elohim. You have walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created till iniquity was found in you.
All right. So you was perfect. The adversary, the devil, when he was created, just like everything else, was created in perfection. He was Tamim, or Tam. He had everything. He had everything there perfect. Until you decided to spot yourself. So if we were created in perfection, until we decided to allow this same spirit, the king of Tyre, allowed to get into him, which is the spirit of the adversary, then that means we can go back to that perfection by not listening to that spirit, by listening to the commands of the Most High, by when we find ourselves in spot, wipe it off.
Verse.
Go ahead, Elder.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to see a little more about his fall, they can go to Isaiah 14, and it goes into the fall of Lucifer and how he's wanted to become pretty helping a man, and that's how basically he's dealt with, because brought down to Lake of Fire, and they talk about, oh, this is this man that made the earth tremble, that did make kingdoms, that did shake kingdoms. So basically, this information right here is talking about where he was, who he used to be, and the error of his ways, because Yahweh made him perfect. It was just his heart that, they say, became jealous with the Most High had. He covered, when he covered with the Most High had.
Right.
So it goes deeper into Isaiah 14. So I just want to bring that point up there.
Right, right. His seat was on earth. His throne was on earth. That wasn't good enough for him. That's like the sun saying, you know, I want to be in the earth's atmosphere. I don't want to be in space. But Yah said, nah, you need to be in space. You're going to burn these people up if you come inside the atmosphere. I made you here for a reason. But no, like you said in Isaiah 14, nah, he want his throne in heaven. He not satisfied with being a covering angel, covering the mercy seat, covering the commandments of the Most High on earth. He wasn't